Welcome to the CE Pro podcast. I'm Executive Editor Arlen Schweiger. Wireless audio has come a long way, and one company that continues to propel the technology in exciting directions is Enclave Audio. Rob Jones, Chief Technology Officer of the company, discusses how easy it is for dealers to install and calibrate full wireless surround sound systems, advantages over soundbars, where wireless audio might be headed next, and more in this week's podcast episode. As always, be sure to subscribe to CE Pro's YouTube channel and hit that like button on our videos, or subscribe to the CE Pro podcast on Apple and Spotify and leave a review. Rob Jones, Chief Technology Officer at Enclave Audio. Welcome to the CE Pro podcast.
Thank you much, good sir. How are you?
I'm doing well today, Rob. So we want to talk a lot about wireless audio, wireless surround sound. Rob, tell us, just to start off, a bit about Enclave Audio. How long has the company been around, and what are some of the key products and features?
Sure. We came together in my garage in about 2013. I was myself and another partner, and the mission was to create a solution or an alternative to basically soundbars at the time, which we saw gaining significant headwind, right? Or significant tailwind, and offer a complete solution that will allow a customer to be able to have that movie theater-like experience, yet lose all of the wires and the pain that looking at the backside of an AVR brings to most people, right? So we kind of set out on a goal to create a multi-channel solution, and then went on the search for a technology, right? That led us to our first round of products a couple of years later in 2016, early 2016, called the CineHome HD, which was basically a plug and play 5.1 wireless home theater system. We built that with a product called the Smart Center, which the Smart Center had the multiple HDMI inputs. It had HDMI output to the TV, transmitter inside the center channel itself, so it could wirelessly transmit to the rest of the system. That performed very well for us and taught us a lot about the category, the channel, the customer, what the customer is really looking for. Evolved into our products we released late 2019, early 2020, called the CineHome 2 and the CineHome Pro. The CineHome Pro being a THX certified wireless home theater system that really kind of showcases how wireless single room home theater wireless audio can be a beast. Right. So that's kind of where we are today. We're now in the process of developing even more products, expanding the Enclave landscape out of the single room home theater solution into broader landscapes with a larger Enclave ecosystem wirelessly.
All right, that sounds great. So in terms of the company, I know you guys are a member brand in the Wireless Speaker and Audio Association, WiSA.
Certainly.
Tell us a little bit about how that works and what the benefits are of having some products in that ecosystem for certification.
Sure. So what WiSA enabled us to do at the time we met them, they were Summit Technologies. And what that solution offered us to do was exactly what we were looking to do, which was to bring that wireless multi-channel solution into the home in a convenient way that also was robust, that would also meet Dolby and DTS certifications. You have to be as fast or equal to or faster than copper, right? So all of the challenges were the things that Summit/WiSA had overcome. And that made it very interesting for us to kind of dive into the technology and look at what their ecosystem was, which was a landscape that said, hey, ultimately WiSA wanted to be able to interchange hubs with speakers and essentially recreate the wired landscape in a wireless way, right? And that for us made a lot of sense, especially considering what the soundbar market was doing at the time. This was certainly an opportunity for us to bring a level of quality to that experience and robustness, as well as audio detail, in a way that a consumer could just plug it in the wall and it works, right? So the benefits kind of that technology certainly provide that single room solution. For us, we do it a little differently, right? Our product is our speakers are WiSA certified, which is to say that our speakers will connect with a WiSA certified hub. However, the way we design and are even certified, let's say, for example, on a THX basis, is we're certified as an integrated system. And the way we've designed our system is that our center hub works in conjunction with our speakers, our filtering, our slopes, all of those things are created as a whole, right? So if you were to use a third-party transmitter with an Enclave system, there's a couple of things that are going to happen. One of which, you're not going to get technically accurate audio. Number two is, we believe that the consumer experience is also about a support mechanism. And when you start chopping up the support and saying, here's a nascent technology, and we're putting it in the customer living room, and there are experiences that we even, and WiSA still admittedly will tell you, are still learning about what happens as all of these other technologies start to come into the wireless space. It gets really crowded. So challenges start happening as to, oh, we didn't see that because that product didn't exist in 2013 or 2015 or 20, right? So what we do is we kind of look at the ways that we can better that customer experience from a support level. And we feel as a company that if a customer has our hub with our firmware and our speakers with our firmware and our design, that if a customer calls up and says, hey, I've got this problem, we can address that problem much more efficiently and much more timely than if we had to go ask a third party a question who has to ask the engineers, and then we could be weeks down the road. Meanwhile, you got systems being returned to dealers, which none of us want. Right. So we believe in controlling that ecosystem from a customer experience standpoint, whereas other companies are making WiSA certified speakers and are more than happy to have third-party transmitters, and they're in the speaker business, they're not in the transmitter business, right? So we just believe on wholeheartedly that the customer experience is priority, right? So that's where we live, and those kind of create some of the variances between what you can do with WiSA and what we do with WiSA.
Sure. So looking at that customer experience, then, when it comes to audio these days, I guess there are lots of forms of wireless audio and wireless technologies, but why should integrators and their customers, why should they be looking hard at wireless audio for implementation in a theater room, a multi-purpose space, that kind of setup? When some people are still maybe a little skeptical about the audio quality, the performance, any sort of lag that they might ask about. What would you say to that, Rob?
Well, one of the great benefits to Summit and WiSA's technology is they've overcome those challenges of latency and lag, and can easily provide an experience that you could put next to wire and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference, as far as someone looking to challenge that problem, that perceived problem. One of the ways that we have found for dealers and integrators is, especially those customers with shared walls, apartments, condos, people who can't punch holes in the walls and the floors, run wires under the carpets, those kinds of things. This is a great solution, right? And anything kind of WiSA in that way is a great solution. Anything wireless in that way is a great solution. And what happens is you start to see wireless audio, and it's a beautiful thing as far as we're concerned, is as a category becomes this broad landscape, right? You have wireless headsets, you have wireless earphones, you have wireless Bluetooth speakers is considered wireless audio. Sonos is wireless audio. They kind of defined the whole home wireless audio thing, right? So now there's these kind of verticals within the wireless audio spectrum, so to speak, that give you channels, right? And we focused specifically on that single room home theater. We wanted to do one thing really well and do it great, right? And wireless allows you to be able to offer certain conveniences for those customers who just don't have the space, the time, the patience, or they simply look at the back end of an AVR and go, I don't get it. I just don't get it, right? It really gives the opportunity for those platforms to exist and to thrive. And it becomes also kind of taken for granted after a while, right? We all take for granted our Bluetooth headphones, our Bluetooth speakers, right? It just becomes part of normal everyday life. So as that starts to expand into more and more home audio categories, when we get into the home per se, it certainly empowers dealers to be able to offer different types of products for different types of solution to a larger customer base.
Sure. So let's talk about some of those environments that you're seeing these systems installed in, and what a typical installation looks like. But in terms of applications, room size, things like that, what are some of the common ones that you're seeing, and is it just home theater? Are people using it for stereo, gaming, things like that?
Absolutely. So being a gamer myself, I love our system with for example, I'm a big Dead by Daylight fan, right? So when you got a killer chasing from behind you back here on the right, he's coming, you can hear it. That's amazing, right? Even some of the spatialization that occurs in headphones don't offer that type of accuracy, right? so for those types of instances, or if you're a big sports fan and you want to, really get into the game and you got your buddies there, right? One of the things that I view as important, I have a background in the entertainment industry, both film and music, so I've kind of had unique experiences that kind of give me a viewpoint that understands and tries to really bring back what that moment is that people have when they're sitting in a movie theater watching this movie and they're on the edge of their seat and they're sharing these moments with friends and family, or they've got their buddies over watching the Super Bowl and everybody's going nuts. And the audio can be a big part of making you feel, right? And that emotional attachment that we have to even hearing a song from 25 years ago or 30 years ago in high school, and all these things that audio and that experience can represent matter, right? And so for us, we look at those types of things as how can we create scenarios where families can have those moments. And being completely transparent, I'll give you a great example. We had a customer who had an issue with his Enclave, and he didn't say, "Hey, I'm having an issue with my Enclave. This is the issue I'm having." He said, "You guys, this isn't working, and it's taken some beautiful moments that I've had with my family away." And when you want to put a knife through my heart, that's exactly how you do it, right? Because that's exactly where my point of focus is to give you those moments and not have to have you think about what all that means. Or how to get there by plugging in 30 wires and not doing it in a mode that's convenient. So
right.
So right. I digress. I'm kind of off in the weeds here.
But, how are you looking at dealers to position this your systems when they're looking at, okay, I say I've got someone who wants a 75-inch TV, but they're not really sure what kind of audio they want with it. It looks like we've got room for a 5.1 system. They're thinking soundbar.
Sure.
How do you have that conversation with the dealer to say, okay, this is kind of how we want to see our product served in your portfolio?
Yeah, I think there's a responsibility first as a company to try and talk to the customer, to get the customer to understand the difference between what we offer as a product and an experience versus what a soundbar offers as an experience, right? And I tend to believe, and just from talking to our own customers, if they're going to go out there and they're going to buy that 65 or 75-inch OLED and have this big, beautiful picture, and that's the most important thing. And we're yelling and screaming to our blue in the face, wait, audio matters. And you get, these kind of mixed sound approach, I'll call it, which is convenience, right? It says it's a soundbar up in front, and it's using virtualization and spatialization and phase and all these wonderful things to make your brain things that things are here that aren't here. And it's never going to hold up to, if you want sound from a location, put a speaker there, right? And we believe that a dealer having that kind of empowerment to say, listen, you just bought a beautiful picture. Let me show you what a wireless, convenient, you're going to take the same setup that you're going to use with that soundbar. It's going to be one cable to your TV and that's it. But we're going to give you that big theater experience versus a soundbar, which just sits up front. And quite frankly, there's a reason why when you go to the movie theater, there's not a soundbar in it, right? So let me show you what that is. If we can get the dealers thinking in that way, everybody who's on the wireless audio multi-channel living room bandwagon is going to thrive, including the dealer. And it's going to make a stronger relationship with the customers. It's going to make for an expanding ecosystem, right? With our system in particular, you got a 5.1, you can go to 5.2, 5.3, 5.4. So if you're looking to kind of grow the product, or if let's say the room is large enough to where you need a couple of subs because you're not getting adequate coverage, you can do that, right? So we believe
Rob,
that,
tell me about that, in terms of just how the process of the install goes. You mentioned a one wire solution, single wire to the TV.
Sure.
What is basically a typical installation going to look like? How long does it take? And what are some, potential challenges that dealers might face, if any?
Sure. I think the easiest way to kind of put this is it's going to take you longer to take it out of the box than it is to get it set up and running, right? But we see a world where a dealer has, they've got a customer that's on a 75-inch beautiful TV, and they've got this Enclave system, and they're bringing it into the living room and they're unboxing. And the biggest challenge that clearly everybody has is, do I have enough power outlets at the locations I need the speakers, right? We find very little pushback on that, surprisingly, as some people may think, but most
so
people
the speakers are all powered and they need to be by outlets for one thing.
Speakers,
right?
That's correct. That is one thing that needs to be addressed up front.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's not a solution for a customer, right?
And then are they wall mountable? Are they going to want, shelving to have at the ready to place the speakers on, things like
Each
that?
install, yeah, each install is different, right? Each stand is different. We get folks that come and say, "Hey, can you recommend us stands?" Well, we can, but we can't, right? Because the footprint of the stand may be different than what somebody else has, and right, your availability to mount them on the wall, yes, they are wall mountable, but you may be limited in certain ways in that regard. So offering the different kind of installation packages per se, a dealer could very easily represent to a customer that here's a simple to install solution. If you have the power outlets for this, it's going to take you unboxing it, taking your center hub, taking the HDMI cable, plugging it into the ARC enabled HDMI port of your television, and ensuring that the CEC, whatever the television manufacturer that you have calls it, whether it's SimpLink or AnyNet or BraviaSync or all the different flavors of CEC that are out there, as long as that's enabled, you're done. And 95% of the customer experience with their television is done through the TV remote. Master on, power off, volume up, volume down, mute when the phone rings. Other than that, you're going to have an app, right? And that app is going to be able to give the customer the ability to go in and fine tune each individual speaker trim. From a volume perspective, it's going to allow them to set the distances they are for delays in the room. It's going to allow them to be able to do a calibration test, which sends a signal to each speaker individually, where if you want to get that technical about it, or the dealer wants to offer an install package, they can come in and actually calibrate the system. So you can have a dealer that says, listen, I'm going to come in, I'm going to sell you a TV, and I'm going to sell you a complete calibration package, and it's going to be a beautiful large TV with this wonderful THX certified wireless home theater system, and we're going to be out of there within an hour or two. And it's done, right? And that offers kind of a cool way to have a dealer look at, well, I'm going to come in and I'm going to drop a soundbar underneath, then I'm out the door.
Right. So if you go into a little bit more about that optimization using the app, and then for the surround sound itself, what formats is it compatible with at this time? And I don't know if any of that gets updated with firmware, but just the current surround sound formats there, and how does that look like when they are fine tuning a system?
So for us, our biggest challenge being a wireless solution, and this is kind of the gotcha, right? This is where brand on the box starts to become a challenge, right? Dolby Atmos, Dolby Atmos, Dolby Atmos, Dolby Atmos, Dolby Atmos, right? And we stop at Dolby Digital Plus. And there's a reason for that, right? The reason for that is at this point in our journey, I can install 10 Enclave systems in 10 homes on a community block, and I can guarantee you a certain result, a fantastic experience based on whatever that room is. I have the tools to calibrate to that room. The second that I bring Atmos in, I either have to put speakers on the ceiling or I have to use upfiring. And all of a sudden I get into homes that aren't conducive to providing an upfiring speaker type experience. And now I go from 10 to 10 to 8 and 10 or 7 and 10 and 6 and 10. And that's not a business I want to be in, right? The business I want to be in, again, offers a solution to a customer that says, hey, I'm going to come in and I want an Atmos enabled system, and I want to hear what Atmos is. And we spend a lot of time kind of just poking around the internet, and you see people who, well, I want Atmos, and they get Atmos, and then they don't know if they're even hearing Atmos, right? So there's that challenge of as a wireless company, how do we bring that height into the room? Because either way, you're going to run, let's say you dropped an amp in our hub, right? You're going to run speaker wire up to those height speakers. Or if you put wireless, you make them active speakers with a wireless module in them, you're going to run low voltage power up, which is about the same gauge probably as the speaker wire, right? So either way, you're going to be running speaker wire, and people are going to be climbing on that. It's not practical. It's kind of the 7.1 problem, right? Where most people just don't have the 7.1 ability. So we're looking at ways to overcome that challenge that meet our model of convenience and reliability. But until we really have that in a concrete way, I think we're looking at a world that says, if you want Atmos in an Enclave environment, you're going to have to live in a virtualized Atmos world, right? Using a 5.1 setup or DTSX, until we can really make sure that the customer, when they drop that money that they're looking for that kind of solution, gets what they're paying for.
Okay. And so are you finding that with the single wire solution that when you have something like you know, a Blu-ray player or ultra Blu-ray player, is it basically just kind of downscale from those formats to put them into the regular 5.1 with the Dolby Digital Plus?
So yeah, what'll happen is the kind of the Dolby structure works is the TV and the center hub and the Blu-ray player, they all talk, right? And everybody tells everybody what's compatibilities are. So what we get sent is a 5.1 or 8, we get sent a Dolby Digital stream, Dolby Digital Plus stream, and then our decoder, based on how many speakers are in the set, will decode and transmit, right?
Okay, that sounds good. And in terms of, you know, having the system calibrated, are there any sort of, you know, demos that you suggest or that you really like to use with it, that maybe, you know, some are from broadcast or some are from streaming services, you know, anything like that?
No, and here's why. Because what we have found is a significant issue in, you know, let's face it, we're in a streaming world, right? I mean, the physical media form is kind of going the way of the dodo, and all these Blu-ray collections people are looking at and going, right? With that said, you know, you certainly look at, if I have an LG TV with HBO Max, and then I have an Android Shield with HBO Max, then I have an Apple TV with HBO Max, all of those are outputting at different levels, right? And the mismatch in some cases is horrifically significant. You know, so for us to take content and say, hey, here's some great content that you should calibrate by, well, I can tell you that, but depending on what you're using to send that, you may be incorrect. That's why we offer the you know, the pink noise around the speakers, so you can calibrate basically and get your levels, and what's in the mix is in the mix, right? And that is kind of the secondary issue is a lot of the newer stuff out there sounds great. What we're seeing is that depending on how good the mix engineer is, and I say this because I have friends in the business who mix movies and, you know, tell me all the horror stories of studios that want this content that was done, you know, 25 years ago to sound great in an Atmos world. And they're trying to figure out how to do that. And it doesn't always translate, right? Even in a multi-channel world with some content. But so they're trying to go, you know, same with the music, right? I got friends that are, you know, legendary musicians that turn around and say, the label is taking my record and they're screwing it up because they made this record and mixed this record as this stereo experience. And now here comes Dolby and the labels, and they're doing this virtualization of music, and it's changing the experience or what the artist intended it to be. So we try and keep you in a certain zone as far as what, you know, accurately. We don't do a lot of color. We don't do any exaggeration of frequencies, or, you know, what you put in is what you get. That has its downside, right? Based on poor mixes and bad content. But we want to make sure
content agnostic, basically.
Yeah,
it's that kind of thing.
It's tough, right? I mean, there are great mixes out there, right? For sure. Like, you know, one of my personal favorites is the first 5 minutes of Aladdin, from a musicality standpoint and a dynamic range standpoint and an experience standpoint. It's just insane, you know, but it's a very high dollar Disney movie. And to even on that end, some of these video games and the budgets that they're allocating for the multi-channel mixes are just some larger than some movies, right? So some of these experiences really start to matter, but we figure as long as you have the core tools, right?
Sure. Tell us again what exactly is in the app and what will the user experience when they open that up?
So what happens is when you open up the Enclave app, it's gonna literally give you a slide presentation of how to set up your Enclave, right? Step by step. Once that's done, you hit one button and it connects to the system, right?
And everything syncs.
Everything syncs. It's just done, right? What happens is when you plug in our center hub, the first thing it's going to do is it's going to blink at you for about 15, 20 seconds. It's already auto-discovering the speakers. You don't have to do a thing. So that way, once it stops flashing, you hit the power button, everything's there, right? Whereas some experiences, you have to take the speaker, assign the channel, go to the next speaker, assign the channel. We don't believe that the customer wants to have to deal with that, right? You turn it on and we're just there. Each speaker's presence in the app as an amber color, right? Just by simply tap the speaker in the app and you're going to get pink noise to the speaker, right? And therefore you can tap each speaker all the way around. You can calibrate, you know, and if you have a meter, sit in your sweet spot and do your thing, right? So that is kind of how you get started. There's a settings section of the app that has everything from your listening modes. If you're using stereo from Dolby Pro Logic, you can upmix to 5.1 music movie mode. We have a mode that's called whole room stereo, which whole room stereo is great for music. But by design, what its intent is what we found was, because we market the simplicity of installation, we get a certain audience segment that's older. And what they believe 5.1 is, they go, oh, I can just plug this in and it just works. And then they believe that 5.1 means when they're watching their home and garden programs, they're going to hear dialogue in their ears, and they don't, right? So one of the things that we learned from our first product was that there was a need for that. And a need for that could also work in music. But if a customer goes and hits that whole room stereo button, what's going to happen is it's going to take the left and the right audio and send it to the rears, which means you're going to get dialogue right next to your head, right? So that helps for as well as the individual speaker trims. So if you really want to hear dialogue, you're not going to have an issue with that, and you put it in whole room stereo mode. And then if you're watching something that's true 5.1 multi-channel, you just turn whole room stereo off and you have it. So yeah, those are the kinds of tools that we have that we try and make that customer experience just a little bit better.
Great. And I know the company also has a solid support team in place to help out when needed. I think you hinted at this earlier. So the CineTech Live Assist and the Concierge Support Center that Enclave has, what exactly are some of the capabilities that they provide when dealing with dealers or customers who might have questions, troubleshooting, things of that nature?
Sure, it's a big point of pride for us. Our customer support ecosystem is 24/7 email support, standard business hours, Pacific time, telephone technician support. We also have what's called CineTech, and CineTech allows us to be able to have a customer on the phone and have them, using the app, hit a button that's in the app in the settings section that says CineTech. And what that does is that connects them to a central server that we have, where we can access that server. And it's as if we're sitting next to the customer in the room. We have complete control of their hub. We can run diagnostics. We can, biggest customer complaint, is they didn't turn on the ARC. So we can instantly see your ARC is not turned on, turn it on, or you're not plugged into the proper port on the TV. Or, we see you're missing a speaker. Let's go ahead and do a wireless reset for you. So we literally can snuggle up next to the customer and help resolve whatever issues they have. The other side of it is where that's evolving into is for the dealers and the installers. And what that does is it allows, and particularly installers, once we have an app version of this, which is in development, is rather than roll a truck out for somebody who doesn't have their ARC turned on or is missing a speaker, right? You could literally open up your support app. They can have the customer connect and say, oh, they're missing the right front speaker. Let me go ahead and reset it, and boom. And they don't have to roll a truck. And whether they want to do that, as a paid service, or whether they want to offer it as a service that says, just you're buying from me, this is what you get. Those are the kinds of ways we want to empower dealers and installers to be able to, if the dealer doesn't want to get to that level, which most don't, they can certainly tell the customer that if you have any problems with installing or even down the road, speakers that drop, or, Enclave has the ability to pop onto the system in real time and be able to fix it for you. And we can calibrate a system, and we've done it where basically just kind of what a user, it's all about what the user hears, right? I mean, I can take a meter and I can go as accurate as technically accurate as I want to be. And the guy sitting there may go, this sounds like crap, right? So our ability to be able to sit the customer in the chair and us virtually sit next to them and say, okay, does this sound right to you? Does this sound good? Does this sound balanced? Is this the way you want it? It's very, it's invaluable, right? I mean, it's just, the customers really appreciate it. And because most of them, when you say calibrate a system, that's the intimidating word, right? So we can take care of that for you with CineTech. Our average response time, if you call in to Enclave or you email, our average response time is 6 minutes. Right. So if there's not a technician available, our system, so you call in, the op will take the message. If there's no technician available, it goes to the web team. The web team instantly responds and says, we have no phone technicians available at current. We're happy to help. Explain the issue you're having in detail. Boom, done. And most of the customers, we can point them to something on the website or tell them, here, just change this and you're good to go. Right. So it's all about that consumer experience, man.
Sure, great, and a real, powerful resource for them. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Rob, just to, kind of circle back around with wireless audio, I
Mhm.
wanted to get your impressions just to kind of wrap up here, but where do you see the future of wireless audio systems headed? And I know you hinted at some product development going on. I'm sure
Mhm.
Enclave is always looking for what's coming next. Uh,
Sure.
what do you see out there and how might it impact what Enclave puts out there on your roadmap?
So we're one of the things that we're looking at is kind of a little bit, we've always kind of catered to a more mass market audience, not really the ultra premium stuff. We're a couple grand or below. Our first product was below $1,000. Um, but there's the exciting thing is there are more and more technology players that are coming to the surface with more and more wireless audio technologies and ways to do it, right? And we're looking at several of them that offer more channels wirelessly that are currently available, that are offering kind of different ways in which you can use wireless audio without violating really any NDAs, that just make that consumer experience more intuitive as well as more inclusive. So, you start moving into a centralized environment where you have literally one box that will control everything, whether it's your home theater, your whole home, can do, Bluetooth sharing. It really kind of just takes wireless audio and puts it on steroids, right? And does so in a way that allows you some flexibility that says, well, let's look at my left front, my center, and my right front are 3 feet from my control center or my hub. Do I really need to do wireless or can I wire those and then have more available wireless channels to do more of the cool, fun stuff, right? And so all of these kind of things are on our playing field, right? Including some of these technologies, wireless audio technologies and stuff that are going to kind of change what the consumer experience is and make it easier for consumers to more reliably use wireless audio and hopefully shake some of that stigma of some of the purists out there that say wireless audio is not what it should be. And ultimately get it, even more convenient than we've been able to get this today, right? And that's obviously kind of everybody's goal, right? But if you can kind of create the the end all be all, so to speak, the everything for everybody versus our past product, which is something to somebody in a specific circumstance in a specific living room. It offers us, especially us as a business, a way to touch into different areas of the home, but yet offer that complete experience in ways that aren't currently being done.
Sure. So it sounds like there's some more exciting times ahead for Enclave
Big time.
Audio and
You
wireless
bet.
audio.
You
And with
bet.
that, we'd just like to thank Rob Jones again, CTO at Enclave Audio, and we'll look forward to seeing what the company has in store down the road. So thank you
You
again,
got it.
Rob, for joining the CE Pro podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for your support all along. You guys are just fantastic. We love talking to you.
To all of our integrator and manufacturer friends, be sure to submit your top products for CE Pro's Best Awards and great projects for CE Pro's Home of the Year Awards. Find more information and all the deadlines at cepro.com.